Today is April 25th, 2025. And by the time this video is going to be up, it's definitely going to be past this date. And you're going to be watching this past the 25th of April. But the reason why I say that and the reason why it's significant to me specifically on this year, 2025 alone, is because, I plan out my Google Calendar religiously. I plan out my days, follow it to minute by minute, and have my Google Calendar set up, right? And every single Sunday, I look at my week schedule and see what I got going on. And when I looked at it this Sunday, the previous Sunday, right, and looked what I had going on for the week, I saw April 25th. It's a Friday. Today's a Friday. It's said at the top of the Google Calendar, and if you don't know what Google Calendar is, like, you can set up all day events, meaning that, like, let's say you have something going on like the entire day, you set up like an all day event and it's just sitting at the top of the screen. So my all day event was move in day, April 25th, 2025. Probably thinking, where the fuck is this guy moving in? Obviously, didn't move in nowhere because I'm my place right now. And I had that date set up for a move-in date to Charlotte, North Carolina. Move-in date to Charlotte, North Carolina. And this is a place that I really want to go. Even 6 months ago, you asked me what's my dream apartment location. It'd be Charlotte, North Carolina. Obviously, time changes. And obviously, my situation it didn't upgrade to the lifestyle of what I wanted of living in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I don't know your perception of Charlotte, but like my perception was luxury. I definitely changed now knowing what I know. But I was thinking that was the next level I could take. And I was thinking like that was a city I could just launch from, if you know what I mean. Like, you know how entrepreneurs, once they start succeeding with their business, right, start making a little bit more money, they move to a bigger city to broaden their network, make more money, more opportunities, all of that, right? I thought Charlotte, North Carolina was the place for me. And I'll tell y'all why. Because one of my close friends through my childhood, he moved out to Charlotte, and we were still close at the time. I didn't really have too many friends throughout middle school, going into high school as well. So he was like my close friend, right? So he moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I would visit him occasionally. I remember two vivid times that I visited him, and we would spend some time in Charlotte. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and Richmond, Virginia is somewhat of a smaller city compared to like the I guess called metropolitans of DC, Charlotte, Atlanta, Miami, all of those bigger cities, right? I think they're called metropolitans. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But the point is, when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina for those two times when I was visiting my friend, I was like, holy shit. First off, Richmond is a old ass city. Charlotte looked brand new. Charlotte looked like it has some technology to it. I saw people who were my age when I was walking around on the street. I felt like comfortable. I was like excited being in a new atmosphere, new environment. So when I was visiting that city for the first two times, like I was like, holy shit, this place is cool. Place is really cool. So I felt called to the city in a sense. And this was at a time when I was younger where Charlotte, North Carolina was like the first city I went to by myself in a sense, where I was going with a friend instead of family. So I just felt so excited in that new environment. And, those two times I visited were just really a great experience. And a little bit under 6 months ago, I started up my first business, a social media marketing agency. And I was working on that business, and I thought this was the business that was gonna take me off of my career. I was gonna make tens of thousands of dollars online with it. And long story short, that didn't happen. Business failed. I didn't make that money. But the point is, when I first started this business, I was told like I was trying to study success. I was obviously, like, you can see the books behind me. They are all like self-improvement, financial books, all to benefit me and try to make me grow as an entrepreneur, as a man, and make me more money. So the point is that when I was studying success in the start, I was listening to like the guys who really had everything they wanted in life, like people like Alex Morton, Ed Milet, who's another one, Bob Proctor, guys like that. If you don't know who that is, search them up. They're really influential guys, really successful guys. But the point is that I remember a specific Alex Morton podcast I listened to. It was telling me that I had to visualize, like really visualize the place I wanted to live to. So I was thinking like, what's a city I can use as a launching pad once I start making that money and I can just like flip my life around like that, right? And once I start making money, I'll move to that city and everything will be so good. All my problems will be gone, everything like that, right? So I started visualizing in my head, like, my Charlotte, North Carolina is the place for me. Charlotte is the place for me. I started visualizing the apartment I'm gonna have, like the little nice penthouse view, skyline of Charlotte, just having my own place, having a balcony there too. I started visualizing all of that, right? And one thing about self-improvement, one thing about being successful, like you're told all the time, you gotta set goals, you gotta have direction, you gotta know where you're going, which is true. You have to know where you're going as a man, because if you have no direction, you're not going anywhere. So like, obviously you have to have desires, you have to have goals. So my goal was to move to Charlotte, North Carolina by April 25th, 2025. And I remember like, I would set goals in the past and I'd set them up in a way like, I'm trying to think like different ways to set goals, like, SMART goals, specific, measurable, I don't know if it's achievable, relevant, and a timetable to it. So that's called a SMART goal, right? So I would set up like those kind of goals towards what I wanted, which I set up a SMART goal to move to Charlotte, North Carolina. I set up a SMART goal to get a Rolex by my 21st birthday. I set up a SMART goal to drive a BMW M8 by, I think it was age 22. So I set up all these goals for myself. Really, I was just self-sabotaging myself, especially, that's why I'm making this video. I had that goal set up on my calendar. I visualized it every single day. When I was in my apartment back in college, I would sit in my apartment room 30 minutes a day, not meditating, but visualizing. Before I went to sleep, I'd visualize living in Charlotte. I visualize how I'd be like looking on the balcony view, like looking at the skyline, had a little cigar in my mouth, like I visualize this stuff. And like I can visualize the smell of the apartment. I can visualize like the meals I was cooking there. Like I'm telling y'all, like I really visualize this stuff. And my perception of success is like I had to keep visualizing, and it would just happen. It would just happen. I was a dumbass. I'll tell y'all that. I was a dumbass because I don't know why. And maybe if you were starting off your own self-improvement journey, starting off your first business, even making a little bit of money online like I was doing back with my first business, I made a little bit of money online. And like that little bit of money, that my first deal that I closed, which funny enough was in Charlotte, North Carolina, because I'm telling y'all, like I planned out a trip to go to Charlotte when I was running my first business, like in the midst of running my business. I planned out a trip to go there just because I was told by one of the mentors in my mentorship group with the business that I was running. He was like, yeah, if you want to like really submit yourself into the lifestyle, you have to first experience what it feels like to like live like a king. Live the experience that you want first before you get it. Because once you get that experience, once you get that taste of the life you have, the life you want, you're just gonna have like this fire under your ass to keep going. So that's what I did for myself. I saved up money from working at a meal prepping restaurant called Clean Eats. Weeks on end, I saved up money. And my girlfriend that I was with, I'm still with, I took her out to Charlotte, North Carolina. We got like a decent kind of a hotel. It was a pretty nice skyline view, but I didn't really know parts of the city. It wasn't really in a great part of the city. There was like a Greyhound station. If you're in America, you know what a Greyhound station is, the ghetto bus station. And Charlotte, North Carolina Greyhound is not where you want to be at. I'll tell y'all that for the least. So we planned out that trip to go to Charlotte. Nice hotel view. I had the valet take my car. We had a nice rooftop dinner. Went out shopping, went out to restaurants, meals, walks along the skyline view, like all this nice stuff. Really just lived like kings and queens for 3 days. And even in that, while I was in Charlotte, I had my first call with my client. Not my client, my first sales call with my business. And I remember I honestly wasn't even too excited about the trip because I was so anxious for that sales call, which I was taking in Charlotte. I was taking that sales call in Charlotte. And so I get there. It was the first day that we were there, and I take the call. I made my girl leave the room. Well, actually, she asked me, "Do you want me to leave the room?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably a good idea." So she was okay with that. I, I'm gonna throw up a clip right here of what my sales call, my Zoom background was because I really wanted the skyline view of the background, which it turned out really shitty. So I had like this. I sat my laptop on top of a trash can bin. I had lamps behind my. I like pulled the lamps from the hotel. Like bedside stands behind my computer to get some lighting to make it look good, which it still looked bad on camera. And I made sure I had like the window background while I was in the Zoom call. Just all this excessive stuff. And I thought I was like, this was like my calling moment, like, yeah, like I'm going to tell this story about my first sales call, how I set up this view. And like, that was my first time I made money. And like, after that, just be a success story, right? That was my ideal going through my head. Like, that's how I thought it was going to go. So had that sales call. I ended up closing it, not for what I wanted, but I ended up closing it. It was my first client. Ultimately, that client relationship, that it failed. I wasn't able to deliver the service because I didn't know what a learning curve was at the time. And anything new you do for the first time, I'll give you an analogy, right? If first time you ever play a new sport, let's say you've played basketball all your life, you start playing golf, you're gonna be ass at golf, obviously. I mean, you might have a little bit of natural talent just by being athletic from playing basketball, but the point is, like, anything you try for the first time, you're gonna be ass at. So the learning curve in my business, I did not know how to deliver the service that I was selling to my client. So ultimately, the relationship just failed. Luckily, the guy wasn't a dick about it. He was actually a somewhat of a mentor figure to me because he was an older guy. He had a couple of locations that he owned as a financial advisor out in Illinois, I think. So, I mean, a very good connection that I had, and I was lucky to be working with him. And he had full faith into me, and like he didn't buy into what I was selling, but he bought into me as a person. He didn't fall in love with my story, but like he resonated with my story. He was like, "We love young entrepreneurs. We want to help you out, get you started." And he was even saying like, "If you make this work," and like I have this call recorded. He said, "If you make this work, have anyone that wants to work with you call me up, and I will give you the best recommendation." I would say, "This kid is legit. Give him your money." So, I was very optimistic, especially after hearing that after sales call. But the relationship didn't work out, which was fine because I learned a lot from it. And again, long story short, the business just didn't work out, and I gave up on it. It's not that the business wasn't working, the model wasn't working, because it does. And many people make a lot of money from it. I just gave up on it. Like, there were so many personal reasons that I gave up for it, and there's no one else I can blame except myself, really. So, I set up these goals to really do big things, and I thought they would just happen. Thought they really just would happen. How I would make money in my business is the more cold calls I would make, the more clients I'd close, obviously. The more customers you reach out to, the more chances you have to close a customer. That only makes sense, right? So for some reason, my main focus wasn't just giving all my time and effort into getting more customers, getting more clients for my business. I had a lot of self-doubt in that position I was in. I was scared of cold calling. I have recordings on my laptop of me getting cussed out by people I don't even know for like 17 minutes because I cold called them. So I had a lot of self-doubt, and like I was scared to cold call. So like it took me a long time, like 3 months out of the 6 months I ran my business, to get into really cold calling, where I was doing at least 50 a day, sometimes even 100, 150. So I wasn't doing the things that made me money. And because of that, my goals just kept getting pushed further and further. And for some reason, I thought that me setting outcome-based goals, like moving to Charlotte, driving that BMW M8, having that Rolex on my wrist, I thought setting up goals like that and really just visualizing it and taking like somewhat steps of trying to proceed with my business. I put a lot of time into like the landing page, I spend a lot of time like collecting leads. The call leads are potential clients that I can close. I didn't call them yet. Like the thing about like this, right? If you are running a lemonade stand and you're trying to get more customers to turn into paying customers, right? That's like you going throughout your neighborhood directory and just circling names that you can call circling names that you can call and have on a list, and not actually calling them to tell them about your lemonade stand, because that's not going to get you money, right? I hope that analogy makes sense. The point is, like, I was doing all the things that didn't get me money, thinking I was being productive when I really wasn't. So, I would have all these outcome-based goals. I'd spend all my time visualizing, all my time reading, all my time meditating. And I was just thinking like something was just going to happen. That Charlotte experience gave me false reassurance that I was on the right track. I was living like a king for 3 days, closed a client in that time. I felt like I was on top of the world. I felt like, yeah, bro, 3 months time, I'm going to be in Miami driving a Bugatti, everything's just going to click. But, whole reason why I'm making this video is because I had no idea at the time how to make goals, how to set goals as a man who wants success in his life, a man who wants desires. Like, I do still to this day want to drive that BMW, and I still visualize it, but not to the degree where I was, because I actually now spend my time and energy putting into things that will make me money. So the point is that I spent all my time doing the things that weren't making me money. Spent all my time thinking about the nice cars, the money, the watches, the apartments, but I didn't actually do any of the things that would get me there. So instead of setting outcome-based goals, the reason why I forgot about this apartment, because I used to read my goals out before I went to sleep every single night. Had a paper on my door that I would read every single night, and I'd read my goals, I'd read some affirmations. And again, I thought this would just click, right? So instead of doing that, I now set input-based goals. And, at the time, like right now watching this video, if you know me and where I'm at, like, it's probably not going to hit as hard because I really haven't done too much with my life yet. I'm definitely on a good path, and I just haven't had any of the success to the outside world that someone who wouldn't know me would be like, oh shit, he's doing something right. But I guarantee, give it the next 6, 8 months, even a year, I don't really care how long. I'm just going to keep continuing with as much effort and energy as I can into what I got going on right now. Give it time. Watch this video again, and I promise it's going to hit a little bit harder once I have a lot more stuff, a lot more materialistic items, a lot more achievements in my life. So it's going to hit a little bit harder, and it all started because I started doing this. So listen up right here. Instead of reading out my outcome-based goals every single day like I used to, reading I was going to drive the BMW M8, I started writing input-based goals. What can I do? What can Ferris do on a daily basis to move me closer towards my desires? Not saying that I don't still think about what I want in this life, because I want to reach self-actualization, meaning that I want to reach my highest potential. So if God has planned for me to drive a BMW M8, I'm going to drive that damn BMW M8. So the point is that I set up input-based goals that will get me closer towards there. Because why? I can't control the apartment that I'm going to live in. April 25th, I couldn't really control that date, Like, I definitely could have done more towards it, but it just didn't happen, Like, I can't control the outcome. And I think about like this, kind of dark example, but I tell my friends this, right? You set up an outcome-based goal. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised. I could, after this video, I could walk out my house and drive my car, and I could get in a car crash and die. Outcome's gone. But guess what? I can control the input, which is making this video right now, which doesn't directly make me money, nor do I intend for it to make me money. But all I intend is to give back information, give back learning lessons that I have in here through my experiences to y'all. But that's my intention for it. And those inputs, the things that I can control, me speaking right now is something that I can do on a daily basis to move me closer. Very small steps towards my macro, my bigger picture goals of driving that BMW, having that Rolex, having an apartment, not in Charlotte, because now I know what I know now, and Charlotte is not the best city I can live in, but doing something a little bit better with my life. And reaching those desires, because obviously I'm 20 years old. Like who doesn't want to drive what 20-year-old guy does not want to drive a Lambo at 20, right? So obviously I have goals like that because success, sadly, is characterized by that in this day and age of where's your Lambo at? Where's your Bugatti at, right? So I have to set up input-based goals now that move me closer towards the macro goal, because the inputs is something I can control, which is why instead of reading out my outcome-based goals, reading out I'm going to get that apartment by April 25th, 2025 every single night before I go to sleep, instead, I spend my mornings having this journal right here, and I'll actually show y'all this one. This journal right here, I write down every single day, and I've had this for a little bit over a year now. Every single day, I write down my input-based goals. So I don't have to read this off the page because I write it every single day. But like my input-based goals, right, is that I must, whenever you write input-based goals, you must write, I must, I will, I intend to. So I must post 15 to 20 stories a day, which I'm working. My business right now is my personal branding, which means that I have to, the inputs I can control is the content I put out. So this is relevant for my situation. But let's give an example of the lemonade stand, the shitty example I used just a couple minutes ago. So lemonade stand, right? So an input-based goal would be like, I will stand outside with my lemonade stand for 8 hours today. That's something you can control, because you can't control how many people that will come to that lemonade stand, but you can control how long you stay out there, how long you give yourself the opportunity to be seen, right? So you can control. Another input-based goal would be like, I must make 2 gallons of lemonade today with intent to sell. That's another input-based goal that you can control, right? Another input-based goal using that same example would be, I must reach out to at least 25 vendors to sell my lemonade to. That means that you're expanding your lemonade dynasty to other vendors, and you're going to start building up more revenue sources, right? That's another input-based goal that you can. And I'm literally giving you the blueprint in this video how to make a lemonade dynasty if you really care to. So take it how you will, and I hope someone will text me after this video in the next 5 years saying they own like the biggest chain of lemonade restaurants, lemonade stands. Anyways, another, like, I don't only set quantifiable input-based goals, meaning like quantifiable, meaning like I'll reach out to 25 vendors. That's quantifiable, right? I also set characteristic-based goals. What I mean by this is I will surround myself with 150 degrees. What 150 degree is, meaning everyone has an internal temperature of, I'll give you this example, right? I recently went to Miami, Florida, and while I was in Miami, obviously those people have a higher financial internal temperature, if you understand what I mean, than me, because they are in a higher financial status than I am at this moment right now. So if I surround myself with them, the success laws state that they will have to either heat me up a little bit in the middle or to their degree of internal financial temperature, meaning that just being around them will mean that I will learn a little bit more how to make money, and I will take actions that make them money and in return making me money. So that's what I mean by that. And that doesn't just apply for finances, but apply for your physique, apply for your emotional state. If you surround yourself with a family that is highly intelligent emotionally or spiritually as well. So that applies to everything. Another thing as well is, another characteristic goal that I set up for myself is I will live congruent within my desires. Meaning that the outcomes that I do want, even though I can't control them, I have to live congruent with them. The Ferris that is making $30,000 a month profit, I have to live congruent with his behaviors, with his actions right now to reach that state in the future. That's the only way it's going to happen. And I know I created that vision of myself making $30,000 a month in my head. So I understand that that's a reality somewhere in the future. It's just a matter of how congruent can I live to him. So that's another input or characteristic-based goal that I set for myself instead of setting the outcomes. So, I wasn't really intending to make a little educational video today, but I kind of wanted y'all just to learn from my mistakes. And, if you don't know who the hell I am, my name is Ferris, by the way. I make something called Gumption Talks where I just have a raw sit down talk with the camera, kind of just talk out like my learning lessons, especially April 25th, 2025. This date is significant to me because I really thought I was going to be moving into Charlotte. Like, I remember writing that down on my calendar thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to be there by April 25th. I'm not there by April 25th. You know, the funny thing is, like, I could just say fuck all and be in Charlotte, North Carolina to this, like, right now, and I could get a very shitty apartment, but that's not something I want for myself, even though I told myself I was going to. So that's just not the ideal situation. So I hope you took something away from this video to rather, instead of visualizing and hoping and praying for these outcomes just to gravitate towards you in your life, you actually go out and get them, because that's the only way it's going to get done. And you learn from my mistakes, and I wasted a little bit of time in my life thinking that my outcomes that I desired would just gravitate towards me. So yeah, I hope you learned something in this video, and I really do appreciate you watching this far up to this video. If you are new to my channel, please join me on this journey. Subscribe to my channel, check out the rest of my content, because I post content like this just showing my most authentic, vulnerable self and documenting my way up, my growth. So check out my Instagram as well, because I post out my daily life. And I told you one of my goals is posting 15, 20 stories daily. So if you see on my Instagram right now, you go to the link and you see there's not 20 stories, then you can fry my ass if you want to. Regardless, I will speak to y'all boys later. Peace.